Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to a brand new Case Filters live interview. My name is Ruth Taylor. If you've joined us before, you probably know who I am, and I do these interviews on behalf of the Case team. Every month, we speak to one of their brand ambassadors. Thrilled tonight to have T. Heaton, also known as Thomas Heaton. Thomas or Tom, Thomas?
Tom's fine.
I've got to say Thomas first of all, in case.
I didn't realise that name would be public. I was going to put something silly. So
feel free to change it. We'll call you Theaton. That's kind of what it looks
Heaton.
like just now. Misspelled Theaton. But Thomas, obviously well known to, I'm sure, pretty much everybody that's here tonight. I'll introduce him properly in just a second, though. If it's your first time here, just a couple of basic housekeeping things. There is a live chat there on YouTube. I'm not sure it's on Facebook Live. I think it is as well. Yeah. So feel free to use the live chat through the next hour or so. If you've got any burning questions that you want to ask Thomas, shove them in there. There is a little bit of a delay just between you putting them in and us getting them. So we'll get to them as we can, and feel free to do that, chat to each other if you want. Let us know where you're joining us from as well. It's always really good fun to know that as well. And finally, if you do want to watch this again, if it's been super riveting, or if you want to share it with anybody afterwards, it should be available just not long after we finish up there on YouTube or Facebook. So do feel free to share that link as well. Anyway, so as I said, I'm here with Tom Heaton, who is a landscape photographer. Is that what I said? It's trying to come out. And of course, popular YouTuber as well. Tom, I got to ask, first of all, do you like the term YouTuber? Because I always feel it's kind of got almost a cringy connotation. If someone calls me a YouTuber, I don't like it.
I don't like the term. Hang on, where am I? I'm leaning to the mic and I keep.
You're kind of central. I feel the same way. I'm going.
I'll bring it in. There we go. No, I hate the term YouTuber. I also hate the term influencer. I think that one's even worse. So yeah, YouTuber and influencer, terrible. But kind of have to face the fact that that's what I am. Not influencer. Not forget that. Definitely not an influencer. But YouTuber, I can. I always thought to myself, I'm a photographer first, and then a YouTuber, which is true. And I still maintain the facts that I market my photography through YouTube. And that's what I started doing back in 2014 or something like that, 15, whenever that was. But when you actually look at it objectively, I mean, yeah, everything comes from YouTube. It's like the heart of everything. So yeah, YouTuber. I don't like it. But
so Thomas Heaton, YouTuber, influencer, and what about the third in the Trinity, Tom? So are you millennial?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Millennial. Definitely.
There you go. The three things that you don't want to be known as, but you can't deny that are actually relevant. But yeah, landscape photographer, then we'll go for that tonight as well. And I'm sure, like I said, everybody knows you. Probably everybody has watched your videos, but just going right back to the beginning, because it's just always a really good place to start. Where are you from, Tom?
Oh, originally I am from Blackpool, which is the best seaside town in the whole of UK. I'm sure we'll agree.
Yeah.
I was in Skegness actually, first time ever. I was there about a month ago. I loved it. So Blackpool, but on the east. Yeah, Blackpool. That's where I grew up, and where my love of photography began.
Do you go back there? Do you do a lot in kind of seaside-y style? I mean, obviously Blackpool's known very much for its kind of urbanish environment and the beach and the pleasure beach and all that. Do you go back and do much?
I have done in the past, more because I had to have a YouTube video out and I was visiting family. So I was like, right, let's go shoot Blackpool. Typically, no, I wouldn't go and shoot it. I visit there. Obviously, I was there yesterday. I'm constantly there. But in terms of photography, no. But I think that what I'm being attracted to with my photography is beginning to change a little bit. Which I used to be quite strict on the fact that everything I photograph had to be like nature only, natural, no
mountains and lakes.
Yeah, but now I'm just so much more open to shooting literally anything that catches my attention, and I love the idea, at least anyway, of capturing these kind of juxtapositions. Like old meets new, that kind of thing. And Blackpool's full of that, old rusty fairgrounds. And if you go to Blackpool out of season,
yes,
unreal. Like, it is rough, man. I mean, I'm allowed to say this, I'm from there, but anyone who lives there it's rough, like really rough. It's tarted up for the summer. You just take 2 steps back from the main tourist bit, and awful. I mean,
it's
that was pure,
awful
like,
in a good way, right?
yeah, like totally endearing, you know. So from a photographer's standpoint, you know, especially if you want to shoot film, because film tends to have this, you know, a lot of film photographers like to shoot urban scenes. Blackpool, man. Wow. Yeah. Untapped resource, Blackpool. Yeah.
It's got the grit. I was in Blackpool last year and I took a wee medium format film camera. And just like you, it's just, I like the tack and the tats and the grime. And I wasn't quite in the off season, not quite in the season. So I need to go back in one or the other and make that work. But first line in your bio, Thomas, on your website said you got well interested when you were 16 in photography a bit more seriously. What kind of, talk around that and kind of what happened there?
Well, I was awful at school. Like no, you know, no GCSEs. Wasn't interested in doing anything, and had to sit down with a careers teacher. And she said, "So, what are you going to do for the rest of your life?" And I was like, "Oh God, I should really think about this." And I was like, "I don't know." And she said, "Well, why don't you do media studies?" And I was like, "Oh, media studies." I was like, "What's that?" She went, "Well, it's basically watching TV." I was like, "Oh, we'll give that a go." So I went to college and did media studies based purely on the fact of this careers meeting. This my teacher saying media studies. You know, up until that point, I don't think I knew what media was. And then I went to college and there was a dark room in the college. And I was like, whoa, this is good. And then I could take photography as a part of my media. I think it was a BTEC National, I think it was. Yeah, so that was it. I was hooked, you know, a film camera. I believe it was a Canon AE1, a roll of film, and a dark room to use at my disposal. And my God, because I always wanted to paint and draw, you know, but I couldn't have the skill. But with photography, I felt like when you try and draw something that you can see in your mind's eye, you can't do it. It's incredibly frustrating. But with photography, you can, to an extent, create what you see in your mind's eye. So it was unleashed. You know, it was fantastic.
So all that creativity that you kind of knew was inside you. I mean, I heard another photographer say this recently. They wanted to be able to draw, they wanted to be able to paint, and their parents were creative, but they couldn't do it. And then they were given a camera, and suddenly this whole kind of creative side of them did actually come out. And it's just another way of doing it, I suppose. It's not purely through a certain medium.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, my nana was an artist. She was fantastic. She had about 15 dogs, and she used to paint pet portraits and do oil paintings, and they were so good. Like, I'm talking like proper, like wow. And she was a fantastic artist. So yeah, I used to get amazing inspiration from her, but I couldn't do it. I tried. She tried to teach me. It's no good. I remember she complimented one of my photographs once, which I took. I think I took it whilst traveling in the States when I was like 18, and it was more of a snapshot than anything. But yeah, she broke this photograph, completely broke it down, and said why it was good. And I was like, oh, so yeah, that's where it all stemmed from, I suppose.
The best kind of compliment you can get is from close family. You know, if you've got them giving you a compliment, then you're pretty sweet. I've got Ed in the chat saying he's in the same situation, doesn't know whether to go to uni or not, has to decide by January. Ed, you got plenty of time, and like they keep saying just now in exam season, you know what? End of the day doesn't always make a great big deal of difference. I'm not giving life advice anyway. I'm not giving life advice. First picture, Thomas. Do you remember your first picture that you took that? You looked at it and thought, yeah, this is actually pretty good. I think I can actually do this.
Yes, I do. Well, obviously, I went through the whole figuring out how photography works phase, which is learning how to use a camera and depth of field and all of that. But the first picture I took that I was like, oh, yeah, this is cool, was actually on Blackpool Beach. And it was low tide, so you had all of the pools of water on the sand. Middle of the day, of course. I don't think at that point I really understood golden hour, and you know, I didn't understand how light would have such a dramatic effect on my photography. So it was kind of just walking during the day and looking for anything that caught my attention, and photographing North Pier. I think it was North Pier, North or Central Pier, low tide, pools of water on the beach, and seagulls flying just in front of my frame. And I took the picture and looked at it, and I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to shoot, what I was trying to achieve. So yeah, I remember that. And
so, sorry, carry on.
I was going to say, I wonder if I still have that photograph, because I actually only have it as a print, and then I think I scanned it so I could digitize it, but I don't know.
There's an idea for your next YouTube video if you find yourself stuck. I know you worked in the commercial video world for a bit of time. Obviously, you didn't kind of launch straight into what you're doing now, which is YouTube photography and even just professional landscape photography workshops, things like that. What was the journey from picking up the camera to actually getting to to full time? Not just now, but going full time with your photography.
Well, it's a long process. But when you're young, you don't really worry about the future, which is why you don't save money or anything like that. You just take every day as it comes. I think, that's probably a good thing, because I would have been very stressed as a youngster if I'd have thought about the future. But no, I just rode the train. That was it. Went from college to university. And then got a really lucky break because a friend of mine happened to know somebody who worked for a production company, and I had to do some work experience. So they got me in, if you want. So I was able to do some work experience, and from that, I was able to then convince them that they should hire me full time. And that was it. I got a job in video production, which wasn't photography, but it was. I suppose that's where I might have got a head start with YouTube, because I was working on video production and video editing, and I understood photography, and I understood filmmaking and composition and everything like that. And then the photography just organically happened. I left that job because I realized that after, I think, 4 years, I wasn't really going anywhere, couldn't go anywhere. I was kind of stuck in a rut. So I thought, I know, I'll just go self-employed. So I started doing freelance video work, and then I started doing some photography work, and then I started to do weddings. This is like the rite of passage.
Wow, yeah, everyone.
and then product photography, which is the worst thing in the world. I wouldn't recommend it.
I have heard this. Product photography, it's one of those things you can probably get into it and call yourself a photographer quite quickly, but mind-numbing? Is it mind-numbing? It strikes me as mind-numbing.
Real. Oh god, it's mind-numbing. It's a race to the bottom as well. Everybody's, because anyone can do it, especially now. Anyone can do it from a spare room in their house, and so everyone's charging less and less and less. And then before you know it, you're photographing
toasters. What are you photographing? T-shirts, toasters?
Oh, everything. T-shirts. So, yeah, toasters. Did some cool stuff like bikes, but
cool.
Toasters, T-shirts. And then everyone wants a cheap price, like £2.50 per image. And you think, oh. And then if it's a T-shirt, they want a front, back, close-up, stitching look. It's like, no. And you've got to flipping iron it as well. They come all scrunched up in a box, and you've got to iron all the creases out. And then, of course, the client's never happy. They say, no, I don't like this. It's creased. It's like, well, you sent it me creased. Awful. I think it would be good if you're a big London studio shooting Hasselblad. If you're working at the top end of the industry, then it's probably fine. But if you're just getting into it, I wouldn't. I just wouldn't do it. That's my advice. But yeah, one thing led to another, and I ended up on YouTube, and that's really what allowed me to do this full time. So I'm very grateful.
Yeah, obviously I think you're probably one of the first photographers to start doing the style of YouTube video that you do, which is kind of, one man on his camera taking you along for the journey. And I know people really, really love the format and still love the format. Has your, do you think your style has changed much over the years that you've been doing it? You mentioned earlier, was it 2006 you said you started?
Oh, no, the photography on YouTube, I think my first video was 2014. Yeah, it was like Christmas 2013, New Year 2014. So
not so long ago, but obviously you've been doing it weekly and more, pretty much since then. Has it changed much since you started, or is it roughly the same kind of? You know what people want. People want you, basically. They come along for the person.
It has changed. I suppose naturally you would expect it to change, but ultimately the format's for the most part is still the same, which is go out and take an image. And there's the image. There's so much story around that. It's so much more to it than just taking an image. The production quality changes, my on-camera presence changes. Like, I used to do a lot of just handheld stuff, so I'd sort of pick up my vlogging camera and I'd be talking to it like this. Whereas now I very, very rarely do that, and I use a tripod, fixed tripod, it's just easier and looks better, I think. So yeah, it's definitely changed and probably will continue to change. I think it's really the only way to keep going.
Yeah. I mean, one of the comments I read on one of your recent videos was, she said, what I love about the channel is the sense of enthusiasm you have for everything that you do. I mean, have you ever struggled with the kind of the tension of creating videos because you've said you're going to make a video a week, 2 videos a week, and then actually enjoying what you're doing? Has that ever been an issue for you where you've kind of maybe just lost, you're doing it because you've got to shove a video out, and actually enjoying it at the same time?
Yeah, all the time. It's like a constant roller coaster. Like for the best sort of, I don't know, formula for making videos and taking images is when you don't have to do it. So, you know, if I'm going out because I want to go out, then that is brilliant, and that's when I'm happy and enthusiastic. But you know, with summertime, for example, I don't shoot much in summer because I just don't. I just don't like it. You know, early starts, late finishes, everywhere's busy, you know, some holidays. And the landscape, in my opinion anyway, isn't as vibrant as it is in autumn and winter and spring, obviously. So, yeah, I struggle in summertime, and I'll quite often force myself to go out. I don't really want to be out. But what happens most of the time is that as soon as I'm out, it all just comes together. Like very rarely does it not just come together. And that's from experience, going to the right places, the right time of day, and they're having the right expectations. And then other times I'll just think of a video that I can make from my office or something, like a lazy video. I allow myself to do that every now and again.
A wee monologue. People don't mind a wee monologue every so often.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Do you ever get the chance to just go out for yourself without the video camera, just taking a picture on your own because you want to, or is it a case now of because you've got to, you know, produce videos, you just build that into it, I suppose? Do you still have the pleasure of going out on your own?
I do with sometimes, yeah. I mean, typically I won't, because I know what would happen is if I got a really great opportunity and fantastic scenery and a great image,
Where's my camera?
Totally regret not filming it. And then so in a sense, no, but I don't mind that because I love making the videos. But I have this I bought this instant film camera thing, and
yes,
for a lot of the time, for the past 6 months, I've been going out with that just by myself, no video. And that's fun, you know, and it actually really takes the pressure off because you can really experiment and shoot anything you want without that constant pressure of knowing that at the end of the day you need to sign off on a video.
And also you don't have to do the editing on it, I guess. You don't have to go home and think, right, I've got to shove this into Photoshop, Lightroom and sort it out. It is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. Great, done. That's it. And I can always talk about after the fact, which I did. I made a video last week about it. And yeah, that's fun. But mostly, no, I quite enjoy making the videos.
Yeah, we had with my work, we had some instant film cameras as well, and I think 3 out of the 4 broke within a week. Right. So they were great fun to play with for that moment in time when you weren't misfiring. And I think I did see your video. I think you had a couple of misfires as well.
Oh yeah,
on your instant film.
Flipping shutter buttons on the front there.
Right.
So this is how you hold the camera, right?
Yeah.
And then boom, you press it and it's gone.
And like expensive accidentally pressing that because they're like £1 each, something like that. And
about that, just over £1, I think.
Just watching your pound coins kind of fly out the side of the camera. You mentioned summer, not enjoying shooting in summer. So, favorite shooting conditions, weather-wise or season-wise? Is there something that really you like more than anything else?
I mean, obviously it's autumn because autumn brings with it fog, and fog hides all of the mess that we have in this country, whether it's, you know, sort of litter, obviously, or lampposts, or just bizarre buildings in the land that shouldn't really be there, or whatever. Basically, you can go out in mist and fog, and you can go and shoot things that you can't shoot in any other condition. You know, you can go to a local park, and it just looks like a complete wilderness. You know, everything's hidden, and it just makes places unrecognizable. And it adds so much mystery as well. So yeah, if I see there's mist and fog in the forecast, yeah, I'm out.
So that's a pretty good tip for people actually who maybe live not in the middle of a national park. You know, maybe they've got, you know, lots of bits and pieces, like you say, around them. Find a good misty, foggy morning or evening or whatever, and like you say, it hides a multitude of sins. Woodland, I guess, as well.
Woodland,
on the lakes, in the morning, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, my tip would be if you see it's going to be no wind and cold, cold temperatures, especially if it's been sunny during the day, cold at nighttime, no wind, and there's mist and fog forecast, go to a nature reserve. Just go on Google Maps, nature reserve. They're everywhere. You don't even know half of them exist. You know, it could just be in the middle of an industrial park. They'll have designated a small area to a nature reserve with a footpath, a lake, and a few trees. Go there on a misty day. Yeah, it transforms it. It's fantastic.
Favorite locations? Obviously, you've traveled pretty far. You've done lots of different things, different countries. Is there a favorite location, or is it back at home, or?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, you get attached to different locations for different reasons. So to have one favorite is probably impossible. If I could travel back to somewhere, I'd go back to Namibia. I just really want to go back. It was very cool, and I was there once, and I want to go again. If I could only ever shoot one place for the rest of my life, so imagine I had to move there, that was it. All the borders are closed and you can only shoot this one place. I'd probably go Scotland because it just has so much variety and wide open space, which is nice. So yeah, I mean, the world's a big place. There's many places that all have their own qualities.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said you're based whereabouts in England are you based just now?
In the northeast.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, just outside Newcastle.
Yeah. You mentioned post-processing earlier on, Photoshop, Lightroom. Do you have a particular take on post? Is it kind of minimal, or is it art and you can do just however much you want to do?
I'm pretty free and easy with it. Yeah, whatever you want to do. I don't think there should be any rules. I think if somebody has taken the time to learn something and create something, and I don't like to talk down on images that have been like over processed or that have been manipulated, because some people, that's their intention and that's what they want to do. And if that means that person's being creative, then that's fantastic. My issue isn't the processing, it's the dishonesty, which I don't think you see as much anymore. I think that was a thing a few years ago with Instagram. It's this whole getting two different locations, putting them together, and then trying to pass it off as this cool image that you took. So I'm not keen on that. For me personally, I like to keep things relatively authentic, but I also want to make a scene as good as it can be. And if that means cloning out a few twigs or something that's bugging me, a rock in the corner or something, or changing the color temperature, playing with the hue, saturation. Yeah, they're all tools are there to be used. But if I do anything major, then I'll always kind of try and make it clear that that's what I've done.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think that's what most landscape photographers, they agree on that. Is like, do what you want with it, but just say so. Don't pass it off as, if it's 4 images put together, then don't pass it off as one image or, something major, like you say. Just be honest about it. I mean, you've shot some really beautiful square format images. I was looking at some of these on your gallery, on your film camera, on the Hasselblad, which are gorgeous. And I guess a lot of people would imagine that you can't get great landscape photographs in the square format. How hard was it to kind of train your eye to kind of shoot in square? And you can obviously get great results, but is it something that's quite hard to do?
Oh no, it's the opposite. I think I'm lazy when I shoot in square because it's so easy. No, it works because the way that aspect ratio works. So if you're shooting something tall, where the interest runs from the bottom to the top, then you'd shoot in a portrait mode. If the interest is horizontal, then you shoot this. But there's a lot of landscapes where there is no directional flow. It's just a subject. So if you just put a square on that, if you put a square on anything simple, I don't know, it just works. It just simplifies the scene. It gets rid of a lot of stuff that you don't particularly want in your shots. It focuses the eye on what you want the eye to be focused on. The amount of times I've looked at a scene through a 3:2 aspect ratio and it's just like, oh, it's not quite working. You put a square on it, it's like, oh, there we go. So
is this what you do when you shoot normal aspect ratios? Like, say, would you crop to a square, or do you generally kind of go out with your film camera and kind of restrict yourself to that?
No, I never. Oh well, with the film camera, yeah, of course, I'm totally restricted to the square, and that's why I love it. But with my digital, I just have my aspect ratios all dialed in, and quite often, I'm not afraid to just put a camera on something and then look at it through different aspect ratios. I'd be quite arrogant if I said that I just turned up and was like, yes, this is a square? I don't know. I just look it through the camera and think, yeah, that looks best, and then figure out why afterwards, and then learn from that. So yes, with digital, I'll just obviously maintain the full aspect ratio of the sensor and then crop afterwards. But I will look at the previews to see what's going to work best. And of course, like I've got I release a calendar every year, and the images in that are always square because it's just easiest for the calendar. It means I can use different images, some that were shot horizontal and some that were shot vertical. And so, I've got images that are in the calendar that are square in the calendar, but on my portfolio they're not. So I will crop afterwards. I don't mind too much. Square just works so well.
You've got your 617 as well. Your Fuji,
yes.
Is it your Fuji? Yeah, your Fuji GX617.
Yes.
Was that harder? I mean, obviously that's quite. It's super wide. Is there certain images that work for that, or same thing? You're just going to go and go, yeah, that one there, that would work wide, but you wouldn't, I guess, carry that around with you a lot of the time.
Well, the beauty of that camera is it has a viewfinder that just pops off. It's about the size of a GoPro, so you can just take that with you, and then you can walk around looking like a right nerd,
like a film director. Yeah.
The amount of looks I get when I'm doing that is funny. But yeah, that camera, I love that camera. It's hard work though, but it's so wide. Like, it's so wide. I need to get another lens for it, actually. You can get a longer lens, but they're so expensive and very rare. So I've not sort of committed to that yet. But that's difficult. But I mean, I don't know if you can see behind me, that was shot with that camera. That's I Love Harris. And that works, again, minimal scenes that are generally have horizontal lines in them will work. So seascapes, mountains, all that stuff. The less complicated a scene, the better it's going to work for a camera.
Memorable moments. I'm sure you have got many, many memorable moments, but good or bad generally being the most entertaining. Have you ever kind of gone out and forgotten anything major or anything like that?
It's commonplace. Batteries, memory cards, cameras. Nothing where I've really, really kicked myself. But yeah, just loads of funny things. I think one of the most memorable experiences for me that just so funny. I was in Yosemite National Park a few years ago now, and I don't know if you've ever been or if you've seen it, but it's basically a valley. So it's got a valley bottom, and obviously it's probably about 1 mile wide, 2 miles wide. But the valley floor is really long grass, so it's kind of like up to your waist. And I wanted to get a photograph of El Capitan, which is a famous crag that attracts all of the climbers. So I went for a sunrise shot, which was at like 5 a.m. And I remember walking through the long grass and with my camera. And I always think that photographers must get mistaken for being all kinds of weirdos lurking in the woods. But I was walking through the grass, obviously 5 a.m, thinking nobody's around. And out of nowhere, this guy just sat bolt upright, appeared out of the grass, like, whoa. And I nearly stood on him. I was like, Jesus Christ. And he thought I was a bear, and I didn't know what the heck he was. But he was just camping. He was just asleep in the grass. He
didn't have bear spray or a rifle, did he?
Probably. I don't know. But luckily, it was there. Yeah, I startled him, but he startled me. And that's something that's so common. Like, I'm out shooting at sunrise. I've been in the Lake District, just off the footpath, just to get a different vantage point. And I'm stood there with my tripod on camera waiting for the light. And then people just come, usually joggers, they'll come running past on the footpath. And I'll just stand there, not moving. And then they'll get me in the corner of their eye, they'll see me, and they'll go, oh, Jesus. And I'm always scaring people because I'm just hovering and lurking in the woods. So now I tend to make some noise. I should carry bells with me or something. But I honestly, like...
Everyone thinks nobody else is out at that time of the morning, and in fact, there's quite a few. I mean, talking of bells, I'm going to ask you, anything that you carry in your camera bag, perhaps that's not typical photography equipment, that you kind of find useful? I mean, fancy cafetiere, anything?
Oh God, I wish actually. No, I take a what's it called? An emergency locator beacon, which is like a thing where a big aerial spins out, and then it sends an emergency location to search and rescue, because quite often I never get phone service, which is to be expected in a lot of the places that I go. So remote northwest Scotland or the Lake District, you don't get a phone service unless you're on the top of the mountains, and even then you don't. Wow. But the amount of times that I've like nearly fallen or nearly broken a leg or an ankle, not like, we're not talking Ellesmere Island wilderness experience or anything like that, just in Glencoe, for example, you've got the Rannoch Moor, and you've got all of the swampy bogs and all of that. Well, I've go there in wintertime a lot, and you're about 100 meters from the road, so you feel very safe. You can see the vehicles, you see your vehicle, but if you get stuck in a peat bog, or if you fall and twist something, I'm just constantly thinking, because as a photographer, I tend to go off the beaten path a bit, not far, but enough that if you got into trouble, then it'd be difficult for someone to find you. So yeah, I take this little emergency beacon. I never had to use it. Hopefully never will.
Not so far, but like you say, you're right. 100 yards off the road, you think it's fine, but even a bog, getting your foot stuck in there, darkness comes early. There's lots of safety things to consider. I mean, do you use what 3 words is really, really popular now as well? Is that something that you've ever used?
Yeah, it's great. It's good for tagging locations. And it's good to know, if you do get into trouble, you can call somebody and give them that. But yeah, I suppose it'd be good if you got injured. Yeah, it's a lot easier than GPS locations. I still can't figure out GPS coordinates.
I could never do orienteering in school. Yeah, don't give me a map and a compass.
7 seconds, 9 minutes, 4. Imagine that with a broken leg.
Yeah, no, okay. Thank you. We were chatting earlier just before we started about a typical day. Is there any such thing as a typical day in your life, either when out filming or?
No, not really. I mean, no, it's just. I do everything myself, so I have no structure. If I'm responding to emails, or if I'm packing and shipping books and calendars and stuff, or if I'm going to the post office and then I need to go and film a video. So that could be anywhere, anytime, I don't know, and then edit the video. So no, there's no structure, because landscape photography is so condition based. You need to wait for the season, wait for the conditions. You need to also be inspired and feel creative. So basically, the way I work, or the field that I work in, doesn't allow for structure. If I was a YouTube channel that, I don't know, did cooking, then that's great. I'd have a kitchen where the lighting would always be the same, and I'd plan my meals and then make those meals. But you can't do that with landscape photography. Yeah. If it's raining for 2 weeks, what can you do?
Yep, absolutely. Go with it. I mean, if you didn't have to think about then paying the bills, what would you spend your days shooting?
Oh, that would be nice, wouldn't it? If I didn't have to do this, let's say I got to the point where I could retire, so won the lottery, pay my mortgage, and then I never need to earn another penny. I'd keep doing YouTube, definitely, but I'd probably scale right back and try and make real productions. Like one video every 3 months, huge production, where my photography has more meaning, so it's less fleeting. It's less like go out, do a shoot, and that's that. It'd be more of a project. So yeah, I'd probably focus more on photography projects rather than just individual days out with the camera, which is currently where I'm at with my photography.
Do you have any projects kind of in mind at the moment? Obviously, like you say, you can't do them perhaps just now, but I'm guessing in your head somewhere you've maybe got a bit of a wish list of things that you might like to do over the kind of the future, some projects.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it would be studying. I say studying. That sounds a bit pretentious, doesn't it? Photographing only certain subjects and certain conditions. So I don't know. The obvious one would be sort of snow and ice, right? So taking a very minimalistic approach to snow and ice. So if money was an object, go up to the Arctic for 3 months, and just photograph that, just one particular style, and really just work that until you've got a solid body of work that is all perfectly in sync with the next image, you know, and then you could put this collection together and it all match beautifully. And then after that, you could move on to the next thing, which could be like, I don't know, rainforest or something like that. Deserts, all sorts. But basically, rather than jumping from one thing to another, which is currently what my portfolio is, it would be way more tied together. And then from that, you'd probably then be able to delve in even deeper and find smaller niches within those things that you're studying or photographing.
So something for next month then.
Yeah, right.
somewhere down the line. Now, I forgot to mention this at the beginning actually, but tonight is a little bit different perhaps to the usual things. We've got an extended half hour tonight because the team at Kase have been asking you to send in some of your images for Thomas to critique, and Thomas does have a whole bunch. I think we've got 16 at last count, so he's just chosen a few. Obviously we were inundated with people sending them in. I saw someone in the chat earlier as well saying that they couldn't get them in, but there was a time limit there to send those in just for logistical purposes. So I'm just going to pop, Tom, if you're ready, I'm going to pop your screen up as people can see it. And basically I'm going to hand over to Tom and he's going to just go through these images, hopefully give you some helpful tips and critiques of these. And then at the end, he's going to pick, I can't remember if you knew this or not, Tom, he's going to pick his favorites. And we're going to give a fantastic prize just before we finish up in around about 20 minutes or so. So do you want to take it away, Tom?
Yeah. How many am I picking?
One.
Oh, one.
We have one winner. So no pressure.
Oh,
You've
dear.
You've got a lot to choose from.
Right. So it's funny because you sent me these images to critique. So I thought they were all going to be bad. I was like, oh, yeah, let's get some terrible images and critique them. This will be fun. But no, they're all great. So it's very, very difficult for me to critique them. But this one, this is the first one that is on my screen. Yeah, this is Tom Merton, right? Tom Merton, flipping heck. As a photographer when I was younger, I never understood the quality of light, right? And still to this day, I think a lot of photographers don't appreciate light. Just that, nothing else, just light. And this image, my God, is so good. And it just really shows off the quality of good light and shooting at the right time of day and the right subject. I mean, look at this, man. This beautiful desert scene. I don't know where it looks like. It could be Morocco or somewhere. I'm not entirely sure. But these buildings here, because they are so angular, obviously we have the flat faces catching the light, and it just shows so much depth and detail and contrast. And of course, we've got the low light hitting the trees, and then the buildings down here. Let's have a look. Yeah, I mean, this is a rich, warm, colorful, fantastic image. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, it just made me want to pack my bags and travel to the desert to shoot something that isn't cold and blustery, which is the season that we're going into. But yeah, I mean, the quality of light and what this must be like, I don't know, like what, 10 minutes before sunset, if that, maybe 5 minutes before sunset, because you got these buildings in shadow, but these are in light. Oh, so good. So yeah, this was one of my, definitely one of my favorites. Absolutely.
Who did you say sent that one in, Tom?
Sorry?
Who was this one from?
That was Tom Merton.
Tom Merton. So Tom, if you're in the chat, feel free to just let him know what he's asked. What were you asking? I can't remember what you were asking there.
I'm just curious what country it is.
What country it was. Yeah.
Either sunrise or sunset, but it can't be far after, the sun is about to dip below the horizon, or,
Yeah, it's gorgeous. I know what you mean. It just makes you want to, like you say, get your rucksack out and head off. It is so very different to the mist and the murk that we've got right now anyway.
Yeah, it's just a beautiful example of light. That's it. And it's not overdone.
Simple, yeah.
Just like, this might sound offensive, but it's not. It's a compliment, and that is that there's nothing to it. It's just perfect. Nature is doing all the Photoshop work, and the fact that it's shooting with the sun, I'm guessing off behind him to the right, and the sky's just got a little bit of cloud cover. Yeah, very nice.
I just ask a question on this. Actually, Arjun in the chat is just saying, how do you consider the use of filters with a composition like these?
Yeah, well, I was going to say, this looks like it might have had a polarizer on it, just because of the richness. And that's the only filter I would use. It's not necessary for him to use a grad because the sun is way off behind him. But yeah, polarizer would add contrast and richness, taking a lot of glare off the leaves here and darkening the sky. Yeah, the rich sky makes me think it may have had a polarizer, but it's difficult to tell. But polarizer is the number one filter for me anyway.
All right, well, let's move on to number 2.
Number 2, right? Who have we got here? David Safander. Come on, man. This is it. It's a small image, this, so it might appear a bit pixelated, but it doesn't really matter. There's 2 here actually, both very similar, and then just this is right up my street. Long exposure, cloud inversion, so above the clouds. This is my preferred image of the 2, and I'll tell you why. And it's because of the sky. This was obviously taken. Well, let's assume it's sunset. So I don't know, but it's taken after the sunset, so the light is a bit better balanced. It's not very harsh. So we've got beautiful pinks and magentas with the blue cloud. Now this one, I prefer this composition. I mean, look at these rolling hills. I mean, it's fantastic. Yeah. But for me, the sky is too much of a distraction. It is very impactful, but it's so bright and vibrant. It pulls my eye away from this. And if you'd waited until the sun had set, where we had more of a magenta sky, like in the previous image, it would have been cool. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I wouldn't crop it like this, but that's just it.
Taking the sky away, though. Yeah,
taking the sky away, you can just see so much more of what's going on. So beautiful image, absolutely fantastic composition. But if it had just shot it at the same time as this one with a softer sky that isn't pulling the eye away as much. But yeah, I mean, look at that.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, I'm so jealous. I mean, I might get this in Northumberland. I get this in the Lake District, actually, if you can time it right. But yeah, beautiful. Very, very nice.
Fantastic. So those are from David. What have we got next?
Right, let's have a look here. This really caught my eye. This is my kind of photography. Yeah, absolutely. It's I'm not sure if it's Jani or Yanni. I'm not very good at names, but Jani. Yeah, I mean, this is beautiful. Absolutely glorious. And this is a great example, actually, of a square composition. You have a single subject that has no real directional flow. So putting a square frame on it lets the viewer know that, just it's all about these lily pads. And the fact that you can just see the stems underneath the surface of the water is fantastic. Now, I don't know if it's had any treatment in terms of like a blurring effect and then resharpening the lily pads. But to me, it just looks, it's a masterpiece. It is.
Long exposure, do you think?
No, I don't think so, because you can see the water tension. I mean, yeah, possibly. The water would have to have been very still, though. No, it can't be a long exposure because of the... let me zoom in and have a look here.
If you're in the chat, Yanni, let us know.
Yeah, because of the surface tension, which is what I love. But yeah, great image. Fantastic. So, I'm always looking for scenes like this in ponds and lakes, and very rarely do you get them this clean. I bet there was a bit of clone removal going on, bits of debris floating on the water and stuff. That's what I love to do. I'll sit there for hours taking away bits of dead bugs and leaves and stuff, just so you can finish on an image like this. Nice use of the vignette as well, not overdone. Just works. Yeah, I love this one. This was fantastic. Right, let's we got quite a few here. Let's have a look. Who else have we got? I've got to go to this image here, or these images rather.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty cool. Right, where is that? I want to go. So these are. I've got names for the images in separate folders. Oh, I'll never be able to pronounce this. Is this
it's the effort that counts. Go for it.
Tenguo.
Tenguo.
Tenguo. Yeah, maybe. But yeah, it's the problem with me on YouTube. I can't pronounce people's names. But look at this. Beautiful, beautiful location. Vibrant, rich colors. And obviously, it's the same location, 2 different takes on the scene. Now, when I looked at this one, seeing as we are doing an image critique, I feel I need to critique it a bit. And that is just here. I don't know, can you see my cursor? My mouse? Yeah. Right. Yeah. So it's this. Do you see how the tree just here is just clipping the edge of the frame?
Yes.
That would be my one and only critique of this. When I photograph subjects, obviously anything the main subjects, which this tree is, I always like to give it room within the frame. So trying not to keep things too tight, but I also appreciate that it's not always possible. You know, I don't know what's here. Could be a big, I don't know, a big windmill or something, or pylon or somebody. But yeah, if this was just a bit wider, had an extra centimeter on the side or an extra, 100 pixels,
just a fraction, yeah.
Just because that's what my eye just goes to it, and that's probably because I'm a photographer. I think the general viewer wouldn't necessarily find this as distracting, but it just creates a little bit of tension. Whereas this side's perfect. We've got a nice gap there. But the colors, the subjects, the light, yeah, very nice. Very, very nice.
Got a good bunch. You're right. There's no duffers in here so far.
No, that's why it's quite easy. Brian Maguire. So this is good. Now, long exposure, which is it's a good use of long exposure here. Now, I'm guessing this has been focus stacked, which is a great technique that I like to use, because I bet you these flowers were like, in fact, I've got a little some notes here. Oh, yeah, focus blended. Yeah, focus blended. And how wide was he? 27 mil, not as wide as I thought. But yeah, these flowers would have been very close to his lens, and it's nice detail, and it has a lovely feel to it. Now, he actually submitted 2 images, and what I want to know is this the same arch that he just photographed from the focus stacked image?
Ooh, go back.
I don't think it is, but it would be a good story.
That would be quite. I don't think you can get someone standing in that one, would you?
No, but maybe at low tide. I don't know.
Never know. You never know.
Now, I do have one critique about this one. Obviously, it's a beautiful composite, very well shot, not overdone in that it does, it does have an element of that it's quite realistic. Because naturally you shouldn't really obviously be able to see all the details in the shadows, but there are still a lot of deep shadows, which is good because they have a lot of mystery to them. Quite often you see images like this where people lift the shadows really high and it just looks a bit overdone. But this is well judged, I would say. Yeah. And we've got water down here as well. You see these water droplets coming off the top of the cave?
Yes.
Yeah. No, wait, I don't know if you probably can't see it through my screen share. It's a very fine detail, but that I absolutely love. The one thing I'm not sure about are these footprints here. There's footprints on there. Now, personal preference, but if it was me, I would have walked in the water and then set my camera up and then walked back. So there was no footprints here. However, yeah, no, I don't know. I don't like the footprints. What the footprints tell me is that he's placed his camera here and then walked to that spot. So
I guess that it's very subjective, isn't it? Some people might actually like that fact that it's, I guess, telling a story, but
I think it's because I'm a photographer. Like, I see this from a technical standpoint.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think a normal viewer, sort of non-photographer who wasn't critiquing the image,
yes,
would be like, "Oh yeah, it's like obviously it's a very striking, fantastic image. That person has walked and they're standing there." But I see this as a telltale sign that they've put the camera down and then walked into shot. But that's because I've done it myself. So
it could be the water. Is the water maybe it could be deep on the left? It's hard to know, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad thing. Again, I was nitpicking, trying to find little things, and I've been looking at these images all last night, and I was looking at this one, and the question I had was the footprints, they're good or bad, and then I want to know what this is on his rucksack as well. Is that a tripod?
I cannot see that. It's so small, but
it's a great image.
These bits.
The detail of the birds, the lovely soft sky, nothing's blown out. The water coming down, that's my favorite bit. Everything about it I love. The only thing that I kept nagging me was these footprints. Is it good? Is it bad? I just don't know. Maybe people in the chat.
In the chat, I was going to say, let us know in the chat. Do you like the footprints? I mean, speaking of the chat, Yanni or Jani, let us know again. The image of the water lilies we mentioned is 1/10 of a second, so not a long exposure, but he said it was a pretty calm evening. So you were right there.
Oh, good. Yeah,
that
beautiful.
The water lilies, yeah.
So yeah, that's my critique of this. Beautiful, but I'm undecided on the footprints. But I overanalyze things anyway. That's my problem.
But that's your job just now. That's all right. We can take that. Right. Joe's saying if there wasn't a person at the end of the footprints, he would clone them out. Otherwise, they kind of add to the story. So that's Joe's agreeing with me, but that's all right.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. And they're not massive footprints either. They're not huge in frame. So
they've got stuck in your head, though, haven't they?
Yeah, it's because I spent last night looking at them all, thinking, how on earth am I going to critique these? And then, so I was nitpicking, and then the footprints just, I'll be honest with you, it's all I thought about in bed last night, and this morning when I woke up.
Well, Brian, take the compliment from that, I reckon.
Yeah, well, it's a great image. I
recognize this location. This is Rum.
Is it Rum? Hang on.
Or sorry, Egg. Looking to Rum.
Egg.
Isle
of Egg. Egg. God, yeah, my Scottish pronunciations don't even get me started on this. Absolutely awful. This was Eddie Middleton. So let's see. I've got some notes here. Yes, of course. Polarizing filter. Yeah, with this pool and the rock. Yeah, polarizing filter is gonna look fantastic. And a 3-stop medium edge. So yeah, good use of filters. Yeah, absolutely. I love this image. Again, it's that whole, it's this journey through the scene. You'll find a strong foreground that leads to a strong background, and then if you can get lights like this, then yeah, it's on to a winner. But the shape of this pool is a lot for me. Photography is a lot about balance. I think in terms of the composition being balanced. So to find a foreground like this that kind of looks like a person.
It does.
Yeah, it's just very well balanced, because I'll bet you anything that he was flapping when that light kicked off. So maybe not, maybe it's just me, but a lot of people when the light kicks off, they run around desperately trying to find a foreground.
Yeah.
And quite often just settle for anything. Whereas this looks like he could have been perched there all afternoon waiting for sunsets or sunrise. Wait, no, that's.
I think it's sunset. I think it's sunset. It sets there. Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's and the reflection in the water. I mean, look at that. It's just beautiful. Yeah, very good image. Again, not much for me to critique at all, which is always the struggle. And this one again, same photographer. This is Orkney, and this is just. At first, I wasn't sure, but when you look at it for some time, you start to notice the swell in the ocean. And
it's unusual, isn't it?
It is a massive swell, and he's just picked the perfect shutter speed of. I'm going to guess. I've got the information. I haven't seen it. I'm going to guess. Looking at this wave, I would say 1 second. That's my guess. Do you want to take a guess?
I'm going to go for your guess.
1 second. Let's have a look. No, half a second.
Way off.
No, it's difficult. I don't know
how fast
the wave is. Half a second, not bad. But there's this thing with long exposures where people have a tendency to overdo them and have them for too long. Whereas if you just choose the right shutter speed that matches the motion of whatever it is that's moving in your frame, you can not only capture detail, but you can actually capture the movement of that thing rather than eliminate it, which a long exposure will do, or freeze it, which also works but can be a bit bitty. But this is just right. It's given the right amount of softness to the image, but captured the shape. I mean, it's like a magic eye photograph when you sort of step back and look at it. The ocean is swelling, it's moving, it's waving, and beautiful colors as well, and light. Yeah, it's one of these is a grower. Yeah,
it's a grower.
Definitely. And it's just there's a huge dip in the ocean here, and that's the swell, and it's just been very well captured.
He's just caught the waves coming down beautifully, hasn't he? As well, it's quite hard. It's when you're shooting waves, quite often you go for the splash, and it's the end of that. It's when they start dripping down the fronts of the rocks, the sides of the rocks. You get some really beautiful looks.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, the color, so the warm oranges with the cool blues, and then this weather in the background. So you have this fall off of detail with the land. So it has depth. Yeah, it's great. It's very atmospheric. I want to go. I've never been to the Orkney Islands. I'd like to go. All right, let's see. What else have we got? So yeah, this is cool.
Wow.
I recognize this. I recognize these trees in the shadows down here. And this was... again, my pronunciation's not the best. It's either Maja or Mahak. I know J's is sometimes pronounced differently. Majabet or Mahabet. Can't believe I'm live on YouTube destroying people's names. But either way, great image taken in Glencoe, sort of Rannochmore area. And the light that hits these snowy peaks is just phenomenal. And this is a great use of using a long lens for landscape photography. He could have easily been distracted by the bigger landscape. So completely surrounded by snow-covered mountains catching light. But to train in on one peak with the clouds catching light, he's just done a fantastic job. And he's gone for quite a heavy process. When I say heavy, I mean like dark. He's sort of obviously taking his black sliders and his white sliders to give that contrast, but still maintained a nice rich color. So yeah, absolutely fantastic shot.
That's a framer, that one, I reckon. 120 what
122
mil,
yeah, I thought it would have been longer than 122 mil. Maybe is no, it doesn't say what camera he's using. It doesn't matter, but
it's nice to see that, like you say, that the longer focal lengths in the mountains, because it is, I guess it's a common misconception with mountain ranges. People automatically go for the wide angle, but actually get out the telephoto, the short telephoto, and you just get some spectacular shots.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of my favorite lenses is at the minute I'm using a 100 to 400, but anything 70 to 200 is a great lens as well. So we're gonna go back to this was Gianni or Yanni. Again, I was talking before about mist and fog. It just creates so much separation, so much depth, and it hides so much. Now, I'm not certain because I don't know where this was taken, but I'll bet you on a clear day, these trees just get lost in the background. Maybe there's another tree line behind it, or some houses, or some hills, I don't know. But it's very difficult in landscape photography to often separate subjects from the background. You can use depth of field and color and light, but one of the best methods is just wait for a foggy day. So this image, beautiful depth and great detail. So when you look at it, you see I think it's an Arctic tern, possibly perched on this rock. And then, I don't really know my birds. Yeah, possibly. No, I'm not even going to try and identify it.
It's a stunning shot, isn't it? Is it black and white? Do you know, or is it?
Black and white,
it's hard to tell.
No, maybe it's just my eyes. I can see a touch of color and warmth in these rocks, bit of green maybe. But on a day like this, it's a monochrome day anyway. So you could convert it to black and white, and you probably wouldn't see a great deal of difference there as a black and white conversion. Yeah. But I prefer the color because there's some nice blue and subtle greens, and it's more identifiable with what we would see. So yeah, I mean, again, a great example of a simple, very simple, minimalist shot. And as we mentioned before, this would also work very well as a square. Excuse me, I don't mean to rotate it. But you'd have to consciously do this in the field because you'd need to give a bit more space around the subject, but you just see how that's just, imagine there was a bit more space here and a bit more space to the left. With just this in the center works so well. I mean, don't get me wrong, it works very well as a.
He's done a good job as well of that separation, obviously, between the foreground rock and the background ones, because I imagine he did a bit of up and downing to make that happen. So he's taken great attention to detail there.
Yeah, yes, he's definitely. If you've got too low, then you wouldn't have this channel through here, and then you would possibly even lose the bird. So just the right amount of separation. Yeah, it's a great shot. Again, this is something that I would get very excited about if I happened upon this scene in conditions such as this. Fantastic shot.
Brilliant. How many have we got left there, Tom? About half a dozen?
Yeah, we've done all of the photographers. Obviously, there's 2 images per photographer, and I think I've touched on most of them.
Brian's just saying in the chat as well, the footprints that we were talking about before. He said they were left in intentionally. He said the figure in the background isn't him. It's a handheld shot, and he deliberately didn't edit anything out of it.
Perfect. See, that's it. That's where a caption with an image is incredibly valuable.
Yeah.
So I, being a cynic, which I am, I assumed this was like low tripod, 10-second timer, run into shot. But now that I know that it wasn't, in fact, actually, I do have the information. I should probably read the information. But I mean, still, it's a fantastic shot. And I suppose now I know the story. Then here we go. Taken in Ireland, focus blended, 3 images. Wow, this is a really complex image. This very complex. Focus blended, foreground, background, and then a long exposure. So you've got your focus stack, the foreground and background. Then you've got a long exposure on top of that, all handheld, and with the man standing in frame. So yeah, I mean, I'm guessing that man was there for one of the frames and not all of them.
Points for effort, Brian. I have to say, points for effort. It's fantastic. Yeah,
and now I know that that's not him, so it's not a self-portrait. I don't mind the footprints. Yeah, see, bit of backstory.
Context is everything. Thomas, do you want to maybe have a wee think about your favorite image? I mean, I guess in the chat as well, if you want to put some input in. If you've taken one of the pictures, please don't vote for yourself. But if anybody else watching has got a particular one, if you've got any that really stick out to you, stick them in there. Tom, any more you want to chat about before we have a wee think about a winner, perhaps?
Yeah, so I don't think we've touched on this one, which is it's a beautiful shot of the desert. This is Thomas Grunder. Sorry, no, it's not Thomas Grunder. My mistake. Tom Merton, and yeah, this is a beautiful shot. Just so simplistic, but the lone figure again. It's another one with a figure. This time, no footprints. But yeah, the figure adds so much scale and just gets me asking so many questions. And the fact that it's a black and white conversion as well has a lot of mystery to it, which I absolutely love. So yeah, I just wanted to touch on this one because again, square composition.
Yeah,
one of my favorites.
Unusual for that kind of subject. Usually you'd have some beautiful warm tones, I suppose, and people would stick with that. I've seen very few black and white kind of Junesy, especially kind of the pale contrast. It's not even super contrasty, is it? But it works.
No, it works very well. I think it's because it's an overcast day, so not too much shadow detail. So a lot, if you shoot dunes in the middle of the day, you get striking shadows, really deep shadows. But on an overcast day, everything's very soft and subdued. So the black and white conversion would suit that just beautifully. Let's have a look.
Someone's asking, how did he get on the dune without footprints? Again, maybe it's not a self-portrait. Maybe he came out the other way.
No way, man. Yeah. That guy's miles away. That would be a hell of a commitment if that was a self-portrait. And it looks to me like this. I'm going to guess this is a photographer. I mean, let's see if I can zoom in.
Do you reckon he's got a rucksack on or holding a tripod?
No, he's holding
or something?
a camera. Again, these aren't very high-res copies that I've got here. But can I go into like 800%. Whoa.
Oh, there we go.
Oh no, anything but pixels. Well, his posture
he's holding
looks like
something.
He's holding a camera, definitely.
Yeah. I wonder what the view from his camera was like.
Oh man, but it was nice. Morocco. I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to go to Morocco.
That would be an interesting project, wouldn't it? Take the photo of him and then the photo that he was taking, and photographers in a row.
But the lines, look how these lines take you through the image, down and then up to this lone figure. So everything's perfectly well placed in composition. I reckon this is just a photographer out and about, or a tourist with a camera out and about. Great black and white conversion, because it looks like it was overcast, so you wouldn't have much texture, much contrast. So the black and white just makes it feel a bit nostalgic. I like it.
Yeah. Well, moment of truth, Tom. Do you want to narrow down, or is there anything that sticks out to you in particular that you think is just a favorite image from the bunch?
It's difficult to pick. I've got like 2 or 3, like real 4 favorites, 5 favorites. What have you given to me?
We're not giving away 5 prizes. I think we might get shot by the guys at Kase if we.
Okay, so this is definitely a contender.
Okay.
Just because it's just perfect. It's a perfect example of a well executed photograph. No messing around. Just fantastic. And then, well, I'm really drawn to this one. Just fun. Just lovely. It just goes to show that you don't need to travel the world to get beautiful photographs. Literally anybody could go and take this. Anybody. You just need to find a little park, pond, lake, nature reserve. It's all about being able to see the image. So yeah, that's why I like this one. I'm going to also go to this one. Now that I know the story, I've ummed and ahed about this. This is the one that's really stuck in my head. And yeah, now that I know that is just a passerby, in other words, it's more of a spontaneous shot, more natural. I'm drawn to it more. And then the long exposure missed shots, beautiful.
Yeah.
Difficult to pick a winner. Do I need to pick a winner now?
Difficult but necessary. Yes, go for it.
Okay.
And no one's helping us in the chat, so thanks for everyone's lack of input, Thomas. You have to do it all by yourself. You can't blame anybody.
Right, I'm going to go for Tom Merton.
Excellent.
This shot, it's just so good.
Just
so good. It's not overly done. It's not, it's not going to like smack you in the face if you were to print it. It's just
all about the light.
It's just delicate. It's tasteful. The light, the color, the contrast, the post processing on it has just been done. It's like what is it? What's fancy dining? Fine dining. Yeah, it's like fine dining. When you get a delicate meal, a very light, everything's just perfectly balanced, seasoned. Well, this is what this is like. It's just fantastic. Yeah, love this image, and this is
worthy winner. All right. Well, listen, Tom Martin, congratulations on this. And the other shot you put in as well was absolutely fantastic. You're the winner of a Kase filter. I better get this right. A Kase armor holder system, in case I give you away the wrong thing. And I think the team at Kase will be in touch with you to let you know how you can get a hold of that. But Tom, thank you so much for going through these images. And thanks to everyone that sent them in as well. As I said before, we were inundated, so we had to just pick a few of the favorites. And it was good fun going through that. And hopefully you enjoyed it as well. Time has run away from us, so we're just going to wrap up, I think. Just, Thomas, briefly, I mentioned, obviously, nearly everybody knows where to find you on YouTube for your upcoming books on ice and snow, which might happen in a few years' time. What's the website so people can just check all that kind of stuff out as well?
Well, if you just go to thomasheaton.co.uk, which is my website, that's where you'll find everything else: email, contact email, YouTube, Instagram, any books and stuff that I sell. Yeah,
your calendar's out as well, you mentioned.
Yeah, well, it's open for pre-orders. I've actually just got printed proofs today, and they look great. Best one I've done. I always say every year I say it's the best one I've done, but this one is. It is the images. I'm really happy with the images. So yeah, that's available for pre-order, and the pre-orders get a free print with it as well, and everything's signed.
Excellent.
So that's how I'm encouraging people to support the channel and pre-order. So
do you get a very sore wrist every kind of end of October?
It's no, honestly, I know I never want to sound ungrateful because I'm so lucky to do what I do, but like signing things, like in bulk, because the calendars come in a plastic wallet. So you've got to open the plastic wallet, pull the calendar out, sign it, and then here's the thing: you've got to blow the ink dry, because if you don't, when you put it back in, it all smudges. So imagine, you know, that for a week.
Yeah, you need an intern. You need an intern. I'm sure there are plenty of people watching who would happily pop along to your spare room for a week and just pull them out of the kit. Yeah, blow on it. You need to get a stamp, Tom, is what you need to get. I'm sure nobody would think any the less of you.
Yeah, I don't know, because I quite like the best signatures are the ones after a full day of signing, because it's literally just an angry squiggle.
Bit of personality injected into them. So yeah, check out that for yourself if you want to see more of Tom's stuff. Get a calendar, obviously YouTube as well. We are going to finish up though. Big thank you, Tom, so much for giving up your time. I know how busy you are with calendars and everything else, so really appreciate that. Everybody in the chat as well, thank you so much for watching. As I mentioned at the beginning, you can watch this again, or you can share it on the Kase Filters YouTube and Facebook pages. Just check out their social channels too. Feel free to do what you want with that. Upcoming interviews, obviously same thing, keep an eye on the socials and you can see who we're going to have in next who we're chatting to. But until next time, thank you so much for being with us, from myself, from Tom as well, from the guys and gals at Kase, and have a great rest of your evening or day, wherever you are. And thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you so much.